And hello everyone, welcome back. It is the MGN Football Tailgate Report for Week 2. Nate Chandler back with you, and we are fully underway now this 2022 high school football season on MGN, and what a way we started things last weekend. 49-25 on a Thursday afternoon, one of the first games played in the entire state of Michigan this year. Grandville goes in and dominates really start to finish Grand Blanc in that contest, CT, and I'll welcome you in first because just general thoughts. A statement win, an impressive win for Grandville. We'll get into some of the stats, get into some of the key plays of the game, but man, that's a game that is going to jump off the page, I think, all year long.
Yeah, a lot of things, a lot of stats that are going to jump out for sure, but I think really just the way the Bulldogs kind of controlled that game from start to finish. I mean, early on, there was a lot of scoring going back and forth, both teams going up and down the field, but then once the Bulldogs were even able to kind of play through that, which really wasn't the style they were looking for, the way that they controlled the tempo in the second half and played their style of game and just ground that game out into an impressive victory.
That's a terrific point because they did play a couple different styles. They played that, kind of 7-on-7 type style. The coach Stiegel told us in the coach's corner interview he doesn't necessarily, we don't necessarily want to play that style. Then we can grind them out. We can punch them in the mouth probably a little bit more than they're going to look to do the same thing. Well, they still lead by 2 scores at the half, going back and forth a little bit more. And then second half, Grandville slows them down. Grand Blanc only scores once. The Bulldogs put up a lot of points as well still, but more just the grinding style again. They go 600-plus yards in this game. I think it's 620 winds up being the official total, right around 500 yards rushing for the team as well. So absolutely unbelievably impressive for Grandville offensively. And let's get into some of those stats I just mentioned. So again, they go over 600 yards of total offense, most of which coming on the ground, just dominant. The offensive line really had their way. An offensive line that's a little nicked up, and they went to some different rotations as well, but just absolutely able to maul over what is a good front for Grand Blanc. You think of it as more of a skill team, more of a team that's going to be out wide with stuff. This is a team that actually Grandville was able to push them around on a good front line that they do have on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, they give up 25 points, just the one score in the second half. And for the Bulldogs, they allow a total of -7 rush yards on 21 attempts. Aiden Doran comes up with 16 tackles in the game as well, Chandler. I mean, really, really impressive for the Bulldogs on the whole because the offense was able to do what they wanted to do once they got going. The defense still impressed on both ends, and just some stats that jump off the page along with a win that jumps off the page.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that game decided on the ground, and I think that's what the Bulldogs wanted. Offensively, they got shut down a little bit early on. I mean, just wait and kind of open some things up as this offense sometimes does. And, I mean, as you said, still some talent and some size on that defensive line for the Bobcats, but they eventually got things opened up, used the play-action pass game a little bit. But, yeah, just impressive numbers for basically anyone that touched the football for the Bulldogs, and then as well negative rushing yards on the other end on defense. I mean, just you could tell the running game never got going for Grand Blanc. It was a one-dimensional game, especially in the second half when they were having to go to the air, which even still, I mean, they have some talented receivers, so impressive on the defense to be able to keep them in check.
And it was like total 15 yards rushing if you don't count in the sacks. So even if you don't, which, the sacks have to count because of what Grandville was able to do to get home. We'll talk about that when we kind of break it down more group by group or player by player in just a minute. But yeah, so impressive on the whole, and the perfect win to carry into the first ever meeting of backyard Bulldog, I guess we'll call them rivals, but they can't be rivals. They never played. Grandville and Byron Center never played. That's really hard to believe, and they will meet at Bulldog Stadium for the first time. We're going to have to come up with some sort of code because I'm not going to be able to use Bulldogs on the call. If I say dogs, that means Grandville. I can tell you that much. So in an excited call, if one of us, mostly me, says dogs, we'll say that that's Grandville. But with that said, I think we'll quick pause and we'll get into some of the key players, some of the key performances that stood out. But first, let's go through some of these key plays. And this was starting out, Chandler, the first one it's going to show us right here, 38-yard pass to Tyson Mann. What a grab this was by Mann, and this really got the offense going early.
Yeah, I think this play-action pass here is kind of what helped open up the run game a little bit, the first big pass of the game. Carson Smith able to throw a jump ball. Tyson Mann able to go up and get it, gets him in the red zone and ready to roll.
They score on a bootleg keeper. This is a 31-yard gain bootleg keeper for Carson Smith, one of the most effective plays of the game, using Smith's speed on the outside.
Yeah, I think really opens up the offense when he's able to turn the corner like that. He's got some more speed at the quarterback position again for this Bulldogs offense.
Speaking of speed, Jaden Terry, watch this. Bounces, gets free, almost brought down, and then the Jets turn on at about the 10-yard line, first of two. Terry impressive, to say the least, in his varsity debut.
Yeah, you can see there just as he bounces it once and then bounces it again with the speed just to outrun to the corner.
And this is the play of the day for me for Carson Smith. Lobs it into LaCroix. LaCroix goes running free. First of 2 TD passes we'll see as one-to-man, but very good through the air for Carson Smith. That play in particular, really both, the touch he showed on the football, which is so key in that play-action pass game.
Yeah, able to get it just over the defender and still on the move. That's a difficult pass to make, but puts it right on the spot.
And then this one, able to throw it a little bit past man. Man runs to it, and he is gone at the end of that, one of their final scores of the first half play. And next up, this is the play I think busted it open. You talk about Grandville grinding it out. Carson Kopko, this is after a turnover on downs, gets it, bounces off one man, speed to burn, shows a lot of what they want to see out of that speed fullback position.
Yeah, and this is the play that early on was getting bottled up, and you know when the Bulldogs offense is rolling, this is the play that all of a sudden an assignment gets missed up the middle, and before you know it, the fullback dive is going nearly 80 yards.
Right, exactly. And this 26-yard run that followed a little bit later, and this is kind of that grinded out phase. Again, this is Kopko. I like the move right here. It will bounce to the side, show the speed as well, so it shows a little bit of everything out of the fullback position along with that speed showed. And then on the defense, they didn't send pressure very often. This is one of the few times they kind of sent some extra rushers and speed rushers. And you see there, 28, Jaden Terry gets on defense. He's that standing edge rusher, able to get to the quarterback. But they were very impressive Grandville all game long. You see the numbers, 621 total yards, 168 passing, over 450 rushing for the Bulldogs. And Grand Blanc really, really struggles. Pair of interceptions for the Grandville defense you can throw in there as well. But you look at the defensive side of the ball. We'll start there. We talked offense a little bit earlier on. We'll get into some of those performances. If you talk about the defensive side of the ball, 25 points only given up to one of the best offenses last year in the state of Michigan. They return at least their incredible receivers, their top receiver, a Grand Valley commit that I think many would say is even higher clean than the D2 level in some extent in terms of Jalen Johnson. But the defense, so good in terms of those adjustments. They give up a little bit in the back and forth game to start, just the one score in the second half, and they're able to get home with the defensive line that's a little nicked up. McPherson's out. They were rotating quite a bit. Tyson Nesbitt very good in the middle of it. Kupchak and Medeois out there as well. A couple guys that normally you may consider more of offensive linemen to that regard. But they're able to get home all day long without having to show a whole bunch of pressure. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be impressed with the way they played and the adjustments they made after getting beat a little bit early on in the passing game. It was mainly the short passing game, which is something you can live with if you're gonna give up some yards there. The Bobcats able to move the ball up and down the field a little bit, but then the adjustment, as you said, some pressure by the defensive line, able to get into the backfield, force some throws, and then the secondary really stepped up late in the game, forcing a couple interceptions, and really locking down what you would consider really, I think, 3 or 4 guys on that Grand Blanc team that you really have to worry about in one-on-one matchups. But the Bulldogs secondary, which has some experience, which definitely helped, able to shut them down.
And I think the defense did a great job against a Grand Blanc team that, they ran, they mostly went 4 receiver sets. They spread things out a little bit more than I think some OK Red teams will. But when you think about some of these power spread teams that do like to maybe be more spread than power, you think Hudsonville probably going to throw it a little bit more again this year, the talent they have. We know Rockford, Mac Vandenhout threw for 6 touchdowns, and they passed it 35 or whatever times in that game. So we'll talk about the Rams later on, and some hope that maybe it would be a down year's gone in terms of Rockford, I think, for a lot of fans in the OK Red. But still, we'll see what obviously Grandville and all these other teams bring to the table now. But you look at what they're able to do defensively. Secondary good. Secondary even nicked up a little bit. Carson Smith, Tyson Mann missed some time at different points as well. Some new guys. Avon Kopp played his first game in the secondary. Cash Ruff was unbelievable. And secondary had the pick, had a couple big plays as well. Drew Hungerford, it's just steady as they go, as always, at corner. They can do the things without needing to send too much extra pressure, still getting pressure on the quarterback with just the front 4. The secondary, very good in coverage. They mix things up so well with Coach Landis calling the shots. I mean, they do things well defensively that you need the team to be able to do well against the likes of Rockford, Hudsonville, and some other teams, Caledonia, at the top of this OK Red. Yeah,
I think, just from the front to the back, the defense played exceptionally well. Obviously, it's going to go hand in hand on the defensive end extremely for this Bulldogs team. And when you've got guys on the defensive line that can get some pressure, got some guys that can mix it up, then you've guys at the second level and then in the secondary that can make some big plays, where you can trust them in coverage. You also can mix it up. They've got the ability to bring some pressure, multiple guys. You're not just looking at one guy. You've got multiple different guys that you can be bringing. Just keeps the offense, trying to figure out where the pressure's coming from, what they're going to be doing. There's so many different looks that we've talked about that Coach Landis and this Bulldogs defense can throw at you.
Offensive side of the ball, we'll start with Carson Smith. His first game as Grandville's quarterback, or as the starting quarterback. I mean, we've seen him as Grandville's quarterback going back to when he was a freshman, when he's forced into a playoff game. But first game as the starter, very heralded coming into the season as well. I mean, Coach Stiegel sung his praises unbelievably to us. We learned why. Through the air, on the ground, smart play, senior leadership. He has a great head on him playing football. It's, of course, a 4-year varsity player. I mean, I was so impressed. If they get that performance we saw to Carson through the air, on the ground, running things all year long, this team is going to be able to do really, really big things. I was so impressed by Carson. His first game as kind of the guy on the offense.
Yeah, I think Smith delivered exactly what the Bulldogs were looking for, and just always making the right decision. Whether that was through the air on the play action when the pass was there, you saw the jump ball, able to throw it in a good spot for his guy to get it, and on the touch pass, able to get it over top of the defender. And then there was a couple different times where he had some pressure in his face and just made the right call and either throwing the ball away or putting it in a spot where you weren't going to be turning the football over. And then, of course, has the ability with his legs as well that we kind of talked about in the highlights there, where you can see he just has that speed to get around the outside. Just one more thing the opposing defense is going to have to look for when they can kind of vary those looks between the play action and the bootleg. It's going to be difficult.
Really big development on his arm to go along with the legs that we already knew were there, but definitely seeing the arm start to come next level for him this season for certain. Offensive line a little nicked up, like the defensive line rotated, look really good, and the running backs look very good. In particular, the running backs look great because they complement each other. A couple guys are nicked up. Figueroa and Sadinsky did not play. A couple young guys we maybe expected to see. So we saw the roles pretty much well known from the beginning. Who it was going to be? It was going to be Kopko in the middle. It was going to be Man on the right side. Is kind of more of that. If there was going to be a receiver, more of a flanker back, it would be him. And then Jaden Terry, the freshman, as the other tailback. And man, they all work so well together. Tyson, as the senior, does such a great job in terms of, obviously, you saw a couple receptions he made, ran the ball well. Kopko, 200 yards on the ground at the fullback position, exactly what you want to see with speed. Jaden Terry, 2 touchdowns, 120-ish yards, I think, as well, able to bounce it outside, do so many good things. Reed Graverson spelled him a little bit, but man, those 3 guys, they fit in, and they complement each other a way that reminds me a little bit of the 2019-2020 backs in terms of it's a similar unit, I think, in a lot of ways to how it looks in terms of, you had more of a power back in Vander West versus more of a scat back, for lack of a better term. In Man, you have a better receiving threat with this team for sure. Out of the backfield, a little bit less power per se, but it doesn't matter when you run the system they do. Everyone just works off each other so well in that backfield. Yeah,
I think a fantastic mix, and very impressive the way that they were able to jump in right away week one and have those lanes kind of figured out as to how they're going to use those guys. Of course, as the season goes along, we're going to see the usage vary a little bit, and they're going to be able to mix things up off of opposing teams' game plans and what they think is coming at them. But I think you immediately saw those roles established into what they're going to try to do with them, and I think that's huge to kind of know that what you're going to be expected to do in this offense, and then get those guys in a position and in some play calls where they're going to be able to succeed.
All right, that's a good recap. Granville takes down Grand Blanc week 1 at historic Atwood Stadium. We were there. We'll be there this week again as Grandville and Byron Center play each other for the first time in history from Bulldog Stadium, 6:30 p.m. back to our normal starting time on the air with that one. It'll be on MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN. It will also be through the Grandville Athletics YouTube page. We'll have our commentary simulcasted onto that video. All of it is on that Michigan Sports Radio MGN page, and we'll preview that a little bit more. Real quick step aside, go to an interview, come back, and talk a little bit about Grandville Byron Center, and then get into our rankings and other things. We got the Power 6, and we got the OK Red rankings this week. So all that coming up on the rest of the show, a lot to get to, but man, what a win to start things out for the Bulldogs over Grand Blanc.
Daniel the deer danced everywhere. He pranced through fields and jigged through rivers. Then he saw it. What a stage! A place no deer had dared dance before. The hood of a brand new car.
Hey, my car!
And the car was covered, thanks to Farmers Insurance. Deer Dance Floor, December 1st, 2014. Talk to a farmer's agent. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Contact the Scott Bates Agency today, 616-531-3441. A proud supporter of MichiganGameNight.com.
I'm Randy Hansen, president of Centennial Securities. I've heard it said that professional coaches measure success in rings, college coaches measure success in championships, and high school coaches measure it in titles. But youth coaches measure success in smiles. At Centennial Securities, we're like the youth coach. Our success is measured by the smiles on the faces of our satisfied clients. If you're a Centennial Securities customer, you know what I mean. If you're not, isn't it about time?
Member SIPC and FINRA.
And welcome back in to Game Night. And we are now joined by Grandville senior quarterback, play some defense as well. It's Carson Smith. Carson, first off, thanks for your time joining us today off the big win last weekend. And first, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing well, and like I said, thanks for your time, and great time to talk to you coming off what an unbelievable performance the first week of the year for you and the guys, taking down Grand Blanc 49-25. I guess first talk about team-wide, what a win like that means in terms of momentum, and for a team that had a lot of new pieces coming in, what that game means in terms of going ahead the rest of the year.
Yeah, it definitely means a lot for us. I mean, it was a great first win for the team, with a lot of new pieces on offense and defense. And it definitely gives us a lot of momentum going forward, and it gives a lot of dudes that didn't have a lot of experience a lot of confidence moving forward as well.
Exactly, and it was so impressive the way that you guys were able to do it on both sides of the ball. Talk a little bit now kind of about your role. So this is your first year now, or your senior season. You get to come in as the expected and as the starting quarterback for the team. And what a great first week you had. Put up 3 total touchdowns, couple through the air, 1 more on the ground. Kind of talk about your psyche as a player coming in, knowing that you are the settled starter, able to carry that into a really good game, have to be really feeling good about where your game is at right now, kind of in particular helping run this offense that has a lot of new pieces as well.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting. Not the first time I started, but
right. Well, yeah.
It was definitely exciting to play quarterback with an offense that had a lot of new pieces, but also a couple of key pieces returning as well. And it felt good to step in there. I knew I wasn't gonna struggle or anything like that. I knew that I would step in because it was just another game for me, to be honest. And it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
And that you kind of answered my question. So like I said, it's first game, obviously, for you to come into the season as an expected starter, but we've seen you since you were a freshman having to step in to playoff games. So I guess kind of talk about, you just alluded to it, what sort of confidence you are able to carry yourself as a 4-year player, someone that, of course, has starred in multiple different sports at a high level as well. You can really see that confidence, I think, from our perspective. So talk a little bit about kind of your perspective, being able to have all that experience and how that plays a role in just your solid, even keel play style that you have.
Yeah, it plays a big role. I mean, it definitely gives me a lot of confidence and definitely keeps me calm. Definitely already having a game as a quarterback, as a freshman under my belt, and 2 seasons on defense with mixing quarterback in there as well, and then even special teams. So playing almost anywhere in the games has definitely helped, and it has definitely given me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I was really impressed both on the ground, through the air, what you were able to do. Talk about, as leading the offense, how varied the attack was. I mean, you guys were able to get everyone involved in a really, really strong way. Must really be confident and feel great about the way that offense is flowing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I scored a couple times at quarterback. Terry scored a couple times at his position, and Carson Kopko at fullback ran for over 200 yards, and then Tyson Mann at the other back scored as well. So, I mean, all 4 of us moving well. I mean, it was great to see. The O-line did a great job getting movement, and it opened up a lot of things for us. Everything was working well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite something to watch. We'll kind of transition away from the gridiron for a second. We'll get back on to things in terms of looking ahead to Byron Snyder in just a second. But we always in these interviews like to look a little bit beyond just football as well, and that's a pretty clear story for you. And we like to a lot of times highlight in terms of what's going on at the next level. Well, it's already pretty well settled for you. You are, for as incredible of a quarterback as you've shown to be on the football field, of course, great in the outfield as well, and you'll be on your way to Oakland to play Division I baseball. Tell us a little bit about kind of that decision, why you chose Oakland, maybe what you're looking at studying, and kind of your excitement for your senior baseball season and for that coming up as well.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I went through the recruiting process early in my junior year, and I stood out. Staff loved the campus, and I loved what the new coaching staff was building at Oakland. And I'm looking to possibly do something business related. Not really sure yet, but those are kind of the plans right now, and I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. I always ask guys, like, we're sitting here in the fall, what you want to study, and I guess some guys kind of know, but I know I had changed what I want to do 3 times, and then even once I was in college, somewhat changed, even though I'm here doing broadcast stuff. So I don't know why I ask, but I guess it's at least a little bit of a picture of where things are going. So that's exciting. Of course, shows off the breadth of athlete that you also are outside. And looking back to football, so this weekend, the first ever battle between the backyard Bulldog rivals here, Grandville Byron Center. I guess tell us a little bit about some of the things you're looking at going into this matchup when you look at a Byron Center team that, they're pretty physical, they're tough on both sides of the ball, really, and kind of some of the things early in your prep work that you as a team maybe are kind of starting to look into and trying to do in order to carry forward another good performance.
Yeah, absolutely. We know they're going to come in the first meeting, I think, between us, and we know a lot of guys over there. They know a lot of us, so it'll be fun. We know that we're going to have to play physical because we know that they're going to come in ready to go, because any team that's going to come and play an offense like ours and a team like ours, they have to come in ready to go, play quick and physical. So we know that they're going to come in doing that, and we're going to have to match that, and we're going to have to match it greater than they will if we want to come out and do what we want to do. Exactly,
and I think it's also a game that I think is really important that now you're getting back to West Side teams. You saw a little bit of the passing attack of what Grand Blanc brings to the table, which maybe mimics some of like what Rockford will do, but kind of seeing one of these, quote-unquote power spread type offensive systems in terms of looking at the defensive side of the ball. I think an important matchup to get back on the West Side, see a West Side team, and start to go through that progression of kind of similar play style to what you'll see in the OK Red, a game before you start that always tough gauntlet.
Absolutely, yeah. Grand Blanc, they definitely had a great passing attack on us, but we showed that we could handle it a bit. But Byron Center is going to come at us. They're gonna run. They're gonna throw. They're gonna boot out. Their quarterback's gonna run. So they're gonna do a lot of different things to us that we didn't see as much as Grand Blanc, because their quarterback wasn't much of a runner. But Byron Center is gonna run with their quarterback a lot. So that's something that we're definitely prepping for, and we know that they can run it in multiple other positions as well, and they can throw it a little bit too.
All right, absolutely. I can't wait to see that game get underway this Thursday night. Carson, thanks again for your time. It was a pleasure having you on this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. This is Michigan Game Night. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Tailgate Report. Nate and Chandler with you. Okay, let's start breaking it down this week now. Grandville Byron Center Thursday night. Again, 6:30 p.m. We are on the air, the normal pre-game show coverage, MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN. You also, from there, be able to link to the Grandville Athletics YouTube page, where the plan is, like we did last year, to simulcast through that page, their video on their automated camera with our feed. So again, I know there's bots all over the place from the NFHS right now, or fake NFHS bots. Our link, the only one that actually has our enhanced audio radio feed going on, and this week also we will link. You can find the video, everything through our page. So that's so you can make sure you don't find any of the bot sites, and who knows what might happen to you after that. So make sure you're careful of that. It's getting so annoying. I mean, it's like 15 of these bots on like each of the posts that we're putting out, especially on Facebook. So yeah, just keep that in mind. MichiganGameNight.com or MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN. Just go there. That's all you need. You just visit all the time. You refresh the page, whatever. Just gives a whole bunch of page views if you want as well. By the way, thank you to everyone that listened last week. It was right there for, if not our most listened to game in the history of Michigan Game Night. Just absolutely huge numbers. Blew it up. Even had pretty decent numbers on Twitter and Facebook streams, which we typically don't seem to have as many through those. Most people just find us through the main page, but the main page absolutely blew it up. I think we were right there, number one game going on Michigan Sports Radio as well. So thanks to everyone that tuned in. Huge game, and let's keep it going. I hope to see, or hopefully all of you see us again on Thursday at Grandville Byron Center. So at the end of the day now, CT, time to keep it up for the Bulldogs. Is really the Grandville Bulldogs, that is, in this one in terms of what they can do. Let's talk a little bit about the opponent, though, before we get into some of the matchups. And we don't necessarily talk about this. We'll just play it. Overtime win, Byron Center over Battle Creek Central. And at the end of the day, it's an offense. We talk about power spread. Some of the teams go more power on the power spread. Some teams go more spread on the power spread. This is a team that goes power out of the power spread. They like to use the tight end. They'll use the wing back as well. They'll do a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think, as you said, a team that's maybe similar to the Hudsonville offense that we've seen the last couple of years for the Bulldogs in the OK Red there, but a team that's going to spread you out. They're not going to be as much of an air raid threat as what we just saw for the Grand Blanc Bobcats there, so not as much talent on the outside, but definitely going to use their quarterback to run the football a little bit more, some read option type looks where they're going to try to run the football while the field is definitely spread out.
Yeah, and they've got a couple of different quarterbacks they'll go to. They got a sophomore that they'll play some of, but mostly you're going to see Hunter Schichtel, their senior quarterback, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, and the lefty gives a unique look to the game, has good legs, good arm as well from the left side.
Yeah, I think always an added element that the defense has to respect when the quarterback can run like this, especially in an offense that's built to feature that. And something the Bulldogs, it's going to be a little different test. They're not going to be as much in coverage all the time. Now some of your secondary players are going to be asked to step up and try to play the run and really stop the quarterback potentially running the football.
Yeah, they got some good power, good speed out of the backfield as well. And you think about what they're going to do defensively. I mean, you just kind of saw it a minute ago. Typically 4 up front. They a lot of times go out of the nickel package, or at least they were forced to last week, so we don't quite know what they're going to look like against Grandville for that very reason, obviously. But they like to go 4-down linemen. They've got some bigger guys that they play in the secondary. They even have some guys who wear the numbers in the 50s that are playing more in the secondary. So you can normally guess who's going to be that extra guy brought into the box that may not normally be in the box against Grandville. So it's a power team. It's going to give, on the whole, just a lot different look for Grandville this week than what they had against Grand Blanc a week ago.
Yeah, it's going to be a completely different test, and at times some similar looks on the offensive end, but a different style of offense that they're going up against. And of course, the schedule never going to relent for the Bulldogs. Yeah. You pass the first test, and now you move right on to the next one. Another Byron Center team that has the potential to play some really good football as well. I mean, a team a year ago that again was in the playoffs and getting off to a good start again this year. So just that matchup and the adjustments being made there from week to week already in week 2.
Yeah, you just saw it up on the screen as well in terms of stats. Very, very run heavy, this Byron Center team. That's absolutely what they're looking to do. It's what they are going to do all game long if it's working. But guess who's good at stopping the run? We just saw it. That's going to be the main thing that I think we're going to talk about is I think Byron Center's going to be uncomfortable. We're going to see pretty quickly on if Schichtel and company, again, they have a couple guys. They have 2 sophomores, one that normally plays running back, one that will back him up at quarterback. They both might be utilized a little bit as quarterbacks as well as potentially running backs alongside him. So with that said, they're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be different. That's the look that Grandville, I think, is going to give Byron Center, that the Byron Center Bulldogs, this is going to be brutal. the Byron Center Bulldogs are going to struggle with a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Byron Center is going to have to somehow get creative with how they're running the football because we saw last week Grandville able to shut it down when they were in run situations against Grand Blanc. They were able to shut it down, and whether that's going to be with some creative blitzing, off the outside, or what they're going to do with their linebackers and some of those Viper type positions. I think they've got kind of the setup there. We've seen them able to stop the run in the past, and so Byron Center are going to have to find some ways, whether that's with the jet sweeps or plays if they're going to try to throw the football a little bit more, but it's going to be tough to just run the football straight ahead.
And they like to do a lot of stuff via the option, especially when you talk about how the quarterback gets involved. They like to go to read options and stuff. Well, Grandville's perfect for that because they give you as a quarterback, especially as a young quarterback, you don't quite know what you're looking at. There's so many, like you said, so many different guys playing different positions. I mean, you said Viper positions because they had a couple guys that were playing all over. Aiden Dorn played his usual job up, down, back, inside, outside. And Logan Stockwell as well. He was playing outside. He's a little bit more able to play the size of an outside linebacker this year along with the secondary. He's on the outside. He's inside. He's rushing a little bit. Jaden Terry comes in off the bench. He's an edge rusher. So many different looks. That's tough for a young quarterback, for a high school quarterback, trying to make those reads, trying to decide who is even my read man when they're shifting the offensive line. That makes it even that much more difficult to run the ball using the option stuff that they may try to do.
Yeah, very difficult for a high school team like that to pick up in short amount of time. It's tough to prep for, and really, I mean, credit to the Bulldogs defense, the way they're almost able to flip the read on itself, if that's what they're able to do. I mean, you turned the read option supposed to be the advantage of the offense, knowing what they're going to do. Now you've got the defense looking like, okay, where are they going to be coming from? Who are they sending here? And I think you nailed it. You've got Doran on one side who you're looking, okay, he could be here, he could be coming on the blitz, he could be dropping back, and now you're focused on that side of the field. While you've got Stockwell coming from the other side, and I'm sure multiple other players that they're going to be rotating in there as well. That it's just a very versatile defense that they're able to continue to mix up.
Yeah, this isn't Madden. You can't just pull the trigger and get the little icon of who the read man is. You actually have to make that read as a quarterback. quarterback and as a 17, 18-year-old kid have to go out there and be able to make that read. So yeah, no, it's interesting. Obviously, you got to love what Grandville's defense is able to do. Grandville's offense. I mean, again, Byron Center. We never know what teams can do. The good thing they are bigger in terms of some of these guys in the secondary able to bring things in. But if Granville gets the movement they were able to get up front last time out, I think it's going to be a similar story to Grand Blanc, which again, Grand Blanc really big on the inside. Grand Blanc is bigger inside than Byron Center. I think Byron Center may be a little bit bigger at the linebacking core secondary than some of what Grand Blanc had, so that will help them. Maybe not quite as many explosive runs for Granville, but I think it's going to be one of those games where they're going to be able to keep it going, and then when you have Jaden Terry, when you have Carson Kopka, when you have Tyson Mann, you'll break one. I think it's just one of those games where Granville's going to be able to run what they want to run on both sides of the ball, and it will eventually work out. Yeah,
I think you're exactly right there. But Byron Center, back in our high school days when we used to play against them all the time, definitely had
They put up 80 on Hamilton every year?
Yep, they definitely did. But always had some more size, as you said. But I think the Bulldogs, they showed last week that just that offense, the way they're able to execute it throughout the course of a game, it's very difficult to shut it down for a long period of time, really at all. And so I think just their ability to wear a defense down is going to show.
To show our relative age, I believe Byron Center used to run the T when we were in high school. I think they switched to the power spread while we were in high school. So maybe there's something back in Coach Cisco's mind, obviously. At some point in time, they've run this thing, and maybe there's something still there about and I mean, they've seen teams. They see Zeal in the West often, or used to, until conference realignment, I like to call it, because I never even got fully adapted to the last conference realignment. Then we did it again 2 years ago, and now we're already probably closing it on the next realignment. So I'm just I'm completely out on this realignment. When we do the Power Six every week, I still don't know who's in each conference. I cover this area every year. I don't know who's playing where, but regardless, they've seen a T team at some point in time. They know what they're doing. There's a lot of teams that run it in West Michigan, but no one that quite runs it, I think, this year, like how the Grandville Bulldogs might be able to run it, and that's why it's so interesting. 6:30 p.m., michigansportsradio.com/MGN. Hopefully it's already on your homepage. If it's not, do that right now. Make it on your home. Maybe it can be your homepage, not even just the icon. Make it the homepage. When you open your browser, we get a page click. So that's where you're going. We'll have the link to the YouTube feed. Our broadcast is there. This show is there. Whatever other content we come up with along the way is there. Watch it. 6:30 p.m., Grandville, Byron Center, from Bulldog Stadium. It's the West Side Bulldog Battle, the first time they've ever played. We'll see you all there. Don't try to brave the traffic on 196. We'll do that for you. So you don't even have to go. We'll brave the traffic for you coming from Holland. We'll do the game. You can just sit at home and enjoy it. All right, there's my pitch. We're going to step aside when we come back. We'll go to ranking wherever we're at after week one, which, I mean, everything I said was wrong after 1 week, so whatever. We'll be right back.
The sinister cries haunted Mary through the night. Dawn neared, and still the voice tormented her. She ran towards the safety of her car, flung open the door, and a coyote had somehow gotten locked inside. But the damaged interior was covered, thanks to Farmers Insurance. Coyote Carpool, August 1st, 2015. Talk to a farmer's agent. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Contact the Scott Bates Agency today, 616-531-3441. A proud supporter of MichiganGameNight.com.
Can you identify your number one personal trait? The thing that you do better than most others? If not, this may be a good time to think this through. If you're really good at writing, then why use the phone? If you're great on the phone, why use email? If you have exceptional human relation skills, why sit back and let others lead? I'm Randy Hansen, president of Centennial Securities Company. Playing to our strengths is something we do very well at Centennial. And if you're already a customer, you know what I mean. If not, isn't it about time?
Member SIPC and FINRA.
All right, welcome back to the Tailgate Report. Nate and Chandler here on Michigan Game Night. All right, let's do some rankings and some power rankings, I guess they are, after the first week of the season. So last year we just did the OK Power 6, which is the top team after whatever week it is in each of the OK Conference subdivisions. This week we are going to do, we're combining what we used to do. We're giving you 2 times the content. We 2 years ago did the OK Red because that's the where we primarily are covering. We'll do that for our Grandville base, and then we'll also do the area stuff as we extend that a little bit more because we do, of course, have a couple of non-Grandville games coming up in the near future. We have Holland Christian and Hamilton. Week 3 as Grandville takes on Hudsonville on another Michigan Sports Radio feed. So let's start with our OK Red. Chandler, like we did last week, I think we'll go 3 at a time and then 2 at the top. I will start with my bottom 3. It's actually unchanged for me. Grand Haven's 8, Jenison 7. They both lose to Reese Puffer and Forest Hill Central, respectively. And then West Ottawa. I have them at 6. They won, and they won against Northview. And if I think you know anything about the history of those programs, who has coached those teams, the way things ended sometimes as well with those coaches and some of the recent history, that's a big win. I don't think there's anyone that some of the West Ottawa people would like to have had that win streak end against more than Northview. So West Ottawa on the board, and they go to the top as the team that did win, ahead of and I got Jenison ahead of Grand Haven just because I think the Forest Hill Central loss is a better loss than Reese Puffer. I also think that's how I had the 3 going into the week, so I'm not going to move them.
Yeah, not a whole lot of changes for me either. I will give you credit. I've flip-flopped West Ottawa and Grand Haven. I've got Grand Haven 8, West Ottawa 7. I moved them up 1 spot for the win.
Not full credit yet.
Not yet. I can see it one more time, and then maybe we'll start talking a few more spots up in the rankings. But for right now, Grand Haven 8, West Ottawa 7. I'm leaving Jenison at 6. A good Forest Hill Central team, so I'm not going to put a fork in them just yet for losing that Week 1 matchup. I still think they're the 6th team for me.
Tune in Week 9 as we'll have our game of the week from the new Panther Stadium, or whatever. I think it's still Panther Stadium, from the new Panther Stadium as 2-win West Ottawa and Jenison battled out for number 6 in our power rankings. But that'll be what's on the line in that one. But, yeah, they'll be going back and forth. 5, 4, and 3. I have East Kentwood at 5. And, man, they almost beat Muskegon. They were the better team for 3 quarters. It was just kind of execution at the end. They should have beaten Muskegon. I don't know if that's on East Kentwood, if it's maybe Muskegon has been over talked about a little bit. I know Muskegon was dealing with some injuries, and I wanted to move it up more, but I just can't quite. Hudson, I'm going to keep at 4. Tough loss to Salim. CJ Carr, 4 turnovers. So Michigan fans, you'll like to hear that. Notre Dame fans maybe won't like to hear it as much, but regardless, heard that the game was moved from the big house because of decisions that CJ might have made, and that's why it wasn't played there. But regardless, Hudsonville, another tough loss to Saline to open the year. I'm going to move them there. Now, some will say, Nate, you had them first. Well, that was a preseason thing. We'll get back there. Actually, we won't get back there. I've already abandoned it. And then 3, I got Caledonia. They beat Holt, but I didn't feel it was quite as impressive as a couple other wins out there. So 3 Caledonia, 4 Hudsonville, 5 East Kentwood.
All right. Yep. After giving you credit for the first couple now, I think you've modified your picks to match mine. So I'm not changing anything for these 3 for me. I'm leaving them right exactly as I had them. East Kentwood, 5, Hudsonville 4, Caledonia 3. I think, as you talked about, East Kentwood, even though they lost a very impressive loss, if you want to say that, against Muskegon, a team that's really struggled on offense and still only put up 14 points, but their ability to hold what's supposed to be a very talented Muskegon offense to only 20 points and stay in the game. I think there's some potential there for them to kind of jump. I had them, the OK Red originally broken up into 3 tiers, and I think East Kentwood sneaking, if that was really the real Falcons team that we're going to see, for them to sneak up closer to the playoff tier, so to speak.
They're close to becoming the only team in their tier, quite honestly. It's about true. To be 4-1 and then the rest at the bottom because that's the way things are kind of starting to trend. Yeah. So then the top 2 are going to be the same, likely in the same order. We'll see. I'll let you go first this time.
Yep. So I'm going to stick with what I had before the season. I'm going Grandville 2, Rockford 1. I think both teams played exceptional week 1. I think Grandville probably trending up more than even what I had thought early in the season with the way that they were able to win. Of course, Rockford, a very impressive win as well. I kind of expected that a little bit more, but I'm going to leave them 1 and 2.
There's 2 ways to do this. You can do it the overreacting way, to just go week by week and, who had the most impressive, record times, who had the most impressive performance this week, which, of course, is after week 1. Or you can do the sensible thing. The sensible thing certainly is to put Rockford at 1. I mean, Mac Vandenhout threw for 6 touchdowns. They had a great performance against a solid East Grand Rapids team. And I actually first, if you look at my page, it does have Rockford above Grandville. But I've made an executive decision, mostly because I don't want to match him again. Grandville just beat a top 5 team in the state that no one thought they would win. This is a team that beat Rockford to end the year last year. They did it convincingly. We answered a lot of questions. That's the best week 1 win. It might change again after this week. We'll see. I'm putting Grandville 1. I'm going to put the Bulldogs 1 this week because you know what? It was that impressive a win, and you got to give them credit for it. I think they're flying the highest right now of any one of the OK Red. Yeah, Rockford terrific, whatever, week 1 win, and Bannon Howe, 6 touchdowns, and look at, they have another quarterback and whatever. But, Grandville just beat Grand Blanc. No one else did that. I think that it might be the most impressive win maybe in the state. I know both teams in Division 4 championship last year lost in the first week of the year in different ways and capacities, how they lost, but they both lost, so they both have a hangover from the craziest and dumbest game ever played at Ford Field. But that's how I'm going. I'm going to put Grandville ahead of Rockford. It might be a little overreaction-y, but if Grandville does it again against Byron Center this week, all bets are off. I'm leading the hype train.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're crazy. I'm willing to hear out your argument there. I think, just that the momentum, I guess, is maybe how I describe it of, in a win that maybe wasn't as expected, but the way that they were able to seize that one, if they're able to roll into week 2 and steal another win, I think you start talking about a real battle there for the one spot moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. It's going to be. I'm disappointed. We won't be there. I got another thing, and obviously it would be with Brock and Michigan Sports Radio regardless. Game. It is at Rockford this year, correct? Yeah, it's at Rockford this year. So, could be an unbelievable matchup. There's still a lot. Grandville has, of course, a couple tough teams in front of them before we even get there. Of course, Caledonia on the horizon. So that's where things are at right now. Grandville, Rockford, depending on your order. At the top, kind of the same order, right in the middle, Caledonia, Hudsonville, East Kentwood, and then the bottom, you can round out how you want to based on week 1. West Ottawa is the only team, though, of the bottom 3 to get a week 1 win. They get it over Northview and their former head coach who is at Northview now, and they open up the new stadium this weekend. So that'll be exciting to see as well. All right, OK Power 6. If you haven't watched or listened before, I don't know why you're still watching now, because I can't imagine that we've entertained you if you aren't into this in the past. But this is the OK Power 6, and this is where we go through each of the 6 subdivisions in the OK Conference. We could do the West Michigan Conference and stuff as well. I have Whitehall, by the way, after they beat Unity, so I'm just going to make that statement right there, out there. I'm going to put them atop out there, so there's an answer for that. But, we'll go through the rest. So, OK Red, we just did it, and that's going to be the only issue with this, so we'll just get out of the way. So I guess I have to put Grandville 1 now. I, again, had Rockford written originally, but we changed our minds a little bit. So we just talked about it. We won't flesh that out too much more, know what direction it's going. Grandville, Rockford at the top of things for each of us in the OK Red. OK Green. Now, this is one, Chandler, that I hemmed and hawed quite a bit back and forth about because, yes, Muskegon, they were on top before, they won, but kind of going off the thinking that I used in the OK Red, there's some other things you can talk about. Zeeland West had a very, very impressive Week 1 matchup. They put up a lot of points against a solid team, but I'm still going to put Muskegon 1, I think, because they played a D1 team, they handled business against a D1 team, and for now I'll keep them on top. But I think Zeeland West is right there kind of knocking at the door. Mona Shores played a team from Wisconsin. Week 1 looks solid. Those 3 all right there. I'm waiting to see one of them lose or one of them put up another really impressive win to solidify things.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think for me, I immediately eliminate it down to Mona Shores and Muskegon. I think how much do you want to punish Muskegon for only winning by a score against East Kentwood? So, I mean,
which is still a D1 team.
It's still a D1 team.
With
exactly.
D1 talent on that, D1 college talent on the team.
You're exactly right. And so I think just that they were able to still come back from behind and execute a second half and win. I'm not going to knock them too much for that, so I'm going to leave them as my winner or as the leader for me as well. But I do think Mona Shores is the more impressive win if we're going that route. But I think, it's pretty close there. I'm going to stick with Muskegon.
OK White, some may remember that I had Grand Rapids Christian. Grand Rapids Christian lost, and it wasn't close in Week 1. So I have Forest Hills Central. They had an impressive win over Jenison. Good team, of course, we know, D1, D2 type team in Jenison. So, I think they're kind of the consensus pick that many are going to have after Week 1 as well. I don't know what direction you went, but Forest Hill Central appear to have restocked after losing a lot of pieces this offseason well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've got Forest Hill Central. I still think Byron Center, the next team for me right there. I think we'll learn a lot about them this week with how they're going to handle Grandville. A game we'll be able to watch up close and personal and kind of get a better feel for that conference, and I think what the Byron Center could potentially be.
Absolutely. OK Gold, so first off, South Christian, really solid win. They looked good Week 1, obviously. Grand Rapids Catholic Central scored 52 points. They gave up 0 against Port Huron, which is a good D2 school. So, and they did it at the Big House. So I don't even need to say anything more about this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think South Christian, you said the impressive win. Cedar Springs lost, I believe, and they've got a gauntlet of a schedule. Yeah, I was going to say they've got a gauntlet of the first couple weeks, so I'm not expecting a ton of wins there, but I still think a very good team. So yeah.
I mean, this is a D5 team. They won 52-0 at the Big House against a D2 school, and a year that they lost 2 quarterbacks, they lost all this, whatever. No, no. Congrats to everyone, or all of our Michigan Sports Radio Grants Catholic Central crew, because you get to go back to Ford Field again, regardless what happens the rest of it. We got to find what team, maybe it's going to be Grandville, but we got to find what team we're going to be able to hook onto, because I struggled week 1 in the OK Blue for last year's kind of consensus OK Blue team, Unity Christian. Going into the year, we each thought West Catholic pulled the upset there. West Catholic is able to win 28-20 over Edwardsburg to open up the year. Impressive win for me. I'll keep West Catholic on top because of that in the blue.
Yeah, that kind of solidified my thinking as well, sticking with West Catholic, the win there. Unity was my team. How much do I want to move them down after losing so many pieces from last season? And then you saw the week 1 loss. So I think it's definitely some question marks there. Not saying they're out of it by any means. Still the ability there to bounce back and play their conference season. But I'm sticking with West Catholic.
And a Unity team where even if they wind up maybe losing 2-3 times during the regular season, I think they're going to be really impressive. I think by the time the playoffs come around, they're going to start beating teams in the playoffs, and they're going to start going on a bit of a roll then. So that's something I'll personally definitely keep an eye on. We'll see Holland Christian Hamilton, both OK Blue teams, like I mentioned. Next week is our scheduled game of the week. Holland Christian beat up on Holland. I don't necessarily know what that means for either direction right now. Holland, a bigger school, but they've had the good luck to Holland, by the way, in the OK Green. I wish them all the luck in the world, because that could get tough for them with some of these teams that they have to play the rest of the season. We'll see how that goes for them, how they can maybe turn some things around over at Hope College's stadium there. OK Silver, again, for me, this is just so wide open that I preseason went off the team that had won last year, and then for as long as they win, I'm probably going to keep them on top. I've got Comstock Park still P1 right now, but all those other teams jostling right behind.
Yeah, I've got Comstock Park as well. I believe I had Sparta before the season.
Yep.
They had a 2-score loss to a good Oak Ridge team. So
very good Oak Ridge team.
Yeah.
You really can't take too much out of that conference.
I agree, but I think that's just enough that I was kind of splitting hairs to begin with. So I'm going to move Comstock Park up, and they're going to be my leader in the silver.
All right. There's your rankings for this week. For post week 1, we go into week 2 again, 6:30 p.m. Thursday night. MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN. We'll be there. You can watch through the Grandville Athletics YouTube page. You can, I guess, still watch our enhanced radio coverage that we bring to the table. If you haven't watched, we can always add a couple different things each season. Have a crowd mic, have some different things going on this year. All video ads for the most part in terms of all of our Michigan Sports Radio partners and different things that we're doing as well. So yeah, that'll be a great one. It is the first time, said it a couple times, but again, I don't believe it, the first time that Byron Center and Grandville, two just backyard rivals, both the Bulldogs, they have never played before. First time they will ever do battle, and two communities have kind of grown along the same timelines as well. So surprising that this is the first ever matchup, and excited to get to see them play. Also excited we don't have to drive somewhere, because normally we're always driving 4 hours away for the first 2 weeks of the year. So that's exciting that we get to stay in there, and we get to go to Bulldog Stadium, which is always great. They have typically the best meal in terms of the press, the spread before the game. So shout out to Brian and everyone there for putting that together. So I'm excited to get back to Grandville for the first time this year. Any last thoughts? Big win last week, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to see how things go this week for the Bulldogs. We are going to learn a lot, I think, one way or the other. If we confirm what we saw last week, man, I went over the top on my rankings right away, but you can really, everyone start saying it then.
Yeah, I think really a chance for the Bulldogs, Grandville, that is to hop on the rocket ship. They finally got that first win against a quality opponent week 1, and so now you just try to build on that. And I think they have the opportunity to do so against Byron Center and try to get the season off to a really great start. And, of course, the Bulldogs on Bulldogs matchup and the madness that's going to go along with that. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'll tell you what worked out great is I just made the the game night, the graphic that I put on the screen or whatever, and it says Bulldogs game night. So it's perfect. It is Bulldogs. It is Bulldogs, 6:30 p.m. Thursday night, last Thursday night battle before we go to the Friday night lights. That's the other weird thing about this year. Normally we don't have these Thursday night games for Grandville. They're normally, because of the travel, playing on like Saturday afternoon. But another Thursday night game, last before Labor Day. All right, I will look forward to seeing all of you and seeing you then, 6:30 p.m. MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN. This has been the MGN Football Tailgate Report. We'll see you all Thursday.